Okay. These are a couple of things that a lot of patients, when they first, and even later on, emergency kit. I teach my patients that no matter where they go, basically they should have a change, whether it's a one piece, two piece, and just keep a supply. It's very hot here in Texas. So I tell my patients do not leave it in the car because of the appliance and what it's made out of. Basically, it'll melt. So you always keep supplies with you. If you're traveling, depending on the length or the time that you're going to be away, I always tell you to take possibly more than you need. I have someone going away for 2 weeks. I said, well, pack like you're going away for 4 weeks. The other thing with travel is TSA will sometimes pat you down or have questions. There is a little TSA card that basically you can get to give to someone, to the agents when you're traveling, to let them know that you have an ostomy, so that if they choose, they can take you to a discrete area, and basically, if they have to examine you there. So I'll let Daryl and Ann comment on the emergency and the travel before we go to the other two.
The emergency kit definitely comes in handy. Travel, having pre-check is a great deal. I had that pre-surgery, but I've had no issues at all. And when you're packing your supplies, the wafers or pouches and whatnot, pack it in your carry-on. Don't put it in your checked luggage if you're checking luggage, purely because in case that luggage is lost, you don't want to be scrambling when you're traveling. Anne, do you have any thoughts?
So as far as an emergency kit, I typically have like a gym bag in my car that has a couple replacements if I have issues, and the tape, and also a change of clothes. In my purse, I have one bag available at all times. And we're talking 3 years since the surgery, and I still am very cautious of having supplies with me at all times, because it's a Murphy's Law. If you have an incident, or we call it a situation, and you don't have a spare appliance, it's going to happen when you don't have it in your hand or available. And then when I travel, I typically have everything in one location in the bag, but I also put some in the check-in bag. So I have some in every single bag. And like was stated earlier, if you're staying for 2 weeks, bring double. So you would bring for 4 weeks. That's a good rule of thumb. And as far as going and clearing through TSA, majority of the time, they just pat search you, and I have not had any issues, and I do fly frequently. So, and even going through customs, they didn't give me any issues with the scissors. So it's been fairly easy.
I think the awareness that the different organizations, basically with working with TSA, that has gotten a whole lot better. But initially there were a lot of mishaps, but the travel is getting much easier, because now I think they're educating the TSA agents about people traveling that have ostomies. For your urostomy, mucus is a norm. Because they used a small portion of the ileum, its normal function was to make mucus. That is the lubricant that is in your GI tract. That's what basically helps move the food along with the peristalsis, is mucus. We don't notice it because we sit on the commode, we go, and then we're done. So just because it has a new function, it's still going to make mucus. A lot of my patients sometimes will notice that there is more mucus when they have a cough or the season changes, so they'll notice it then. Over time, my patients will sometimes state that the mucus becomes less, but in times of when they're having allergies again, or if they have a cold, they'll note that the production of mucus increases. But mucus production is normal. For diet, basically the doctors here they ask that you hydrate very, very well. At least 8 glasses or cups of water a day. Note that some foods like asparagus, fish, onions, garlic, you might have an unusual odor when you go to the bathroom. Do you stop eating them? No. Just be aware that that's going to happen. And a lot of my patients say, "Doc, if I know I'm going out, I just won't eat that during that time." So be aware that some things will give more odor. Also, you'll also notice that if you're not drinking enough water, whatever you're drinking, that is what tends to be in your pouch. If you drink a lot of coffee, when you empty, you smell coffee. So just note that what you're drinking, basically, if it's not a lot of water to dilute it, you'll also basically see that in the pouch. So just be mindful that water is very, very important in this day to drink at least 8 cups. To stay hydrated very, very well. Also, you can look at some signs and symptoms of infection because if there is also cloudy or foul smelling, back pain, nausea, vomiting, or even blood there, that is a time that you want to basically call your doctor. So also be aware that that can still occur at times. And Daryl, any thoughts on that?
Yes, one tip is if you notice that the urine is getting darker, it's a sign of either you're not hydrating enough, or sometimes I notice with coffee, it's always darker. And I noticed a post on the Inspire blog recently, and I noticed this in myself that occasionally there is blood on change day, and it's purely because the stoma is kind of reacting to the new capture. Anne?
Yes, I do notice the same issues. So when I see that it's very dark or there's a lot of mucus, I just tend to hydrate more. So that's the thing you have to be careful is to make sure you hydrate. And I think that's what you'll hear mostly said by the medical community and by fellow ostomates. Just hydrate.
Yes, remember drinking water is very, very important to basically this portion in your life if you have a urostomy. And again, the color, as they said, sometimes even more mucus production, you'll find that if you're not drinking, but you'll be able to tell because your urine should be yellow and clear. And of course, you're going to have mucus, like I said, but basically those are signs. And again, it's just kind of telling you, oh, I need to drink a little bit more water. Next. We're almost at the end of this, so let me just kind of go over basic tips. We weren't sure what the audience was going to be, and so basically we tried to include a little of everything so that hopefully you could take some takeaways away. But some of the things that you kind of want to remember is basically sizing of your product is very, very important for maintaining and keeping the skin around the stoma clean. The skin around the stoma should look just like the rest of your skin. So you want to make sure that you have a proper fitting appliance when you're using it. And you might have to change different appliances until basically you find the correct appliance for you. If there's ever itching or burning underneath your appliance, then basically you want to get that checked because possibly urine has leaked underneath your appliance, and you want to take care of that immediately. If you have a walk nurse or a nurse that's familiar with the ostomy and you need help, you most definitely want to call that nurse. You want to hydrate and stay hydrated. Again, as Daryl and Ann said, you will know if you're not drinking enough water because the urine most definitely let you know that. Some foods and medications also can change the color and the odor of your urine. But if you notice that basically it's a drastic change, you might want to let your doctor or your WCN know. And last but not least, the pouching system and the things that we talked about basically will depend on you and basically what you need and to make the adjustments. We give you guidelines so that basically it fits into your life and so that you can have quality. And the main goal behind this is that after the surgery is for you to have a quality life so that you can get back out into the world and do the things that you love to do with your family and your friends. There are great support groups around. Beacon is most definitely one of the top-notch. You have the United Ostomy Association, but they have various ostomas. But Beacon is all urinary. So again, you have peers that can give you insight and help you with whatever you're possibly going to. Also remember that the companies that make these products, they basically have a responsibility of providing you with the resources as far as education and trying different products so that basically your life is there. You are the consumer. So basically they're there, and all of the ones that we mentioned basically have programs to help the ostomate have a quality life. So don't feel like if you're calling them or asking them questions that you're bothering them. They basically have programs set up to help all of the ostomates get what they need and to help them through this process. We hope that this has been as informative and giving you some tidbits on how to take care of your ileal conduit, your urostomy, or your diversion, your urinary diversion. There's so much more information out there, and I know this is just one of two. We could have actually gone through the steps, but we just weren't quite sure how and everything that you needed. But hopefully this will whet your appetite, and we will be able to have some more discussions around taking care of your ileal conduit. Ann and Dara?
Well,